Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Late Night Dominion, episode 19. Welcome, glad you could join us again tonight. Sorry we couldn't be with you last week because we had things like PAX and other crap to do. So, take it away, Beetle.
Yeah, hey, welcome to episode 19. I was super sad we weren't able to do one last week. It would have just been me and Aegon, talking about nothing, and I probably just would have read a book or something. You guys would have loved it. But now we have returning. We've got Nixus, who's got the new internet tubes, Blank, who's got skinny muscles that are lean and not buff, and very gingerbread Aegon. And we're back for, like they said, episode 19. Almost at 20. We'll probably just blow up tonight and not even make it to 20. Because everybody's dying. Blank's like, are you drinking alcohol tonight? You said you were sick. Everybody always tells me don't drink booze, but
just because he's sick doesn't mean he's not going to get drunk.
Yeah, I mean, this show is designed for me to ramble the entire time, so I'm never even going to pass it off to Blank. But how's everybody's week so far? Tomorrow's Friday. I'm just kidding. Blank, news, stuff.
Welcome, and we missed you last week. I have to accept my apologies for my terrible voice and randomly coughing. I caught the PAX Plague, PAX Pox, whatever you want to call it. As always, we are your weekly WildStar news source. We're going to chat about Gamescom and PAX Prime 2013, and we're going to get into a little bit of detail discussing crowd control and you. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat. We will get to them at the end of the show. And if you have any links that you'd like to be shared, please DM them to Chicken Juice, who is doing Chicken Talk tonight. Make sure to follow this Twitch channel. All of us have these wonderful tweets and Twitters, so go follow us for all sorts of fun, cool things. And make sure to like our stuff on Facebook. With that, and a quick drink, we'll get into the weekly news. For WildStar Wednesday, that was actually WildStar Thursday, awards from Gamescom was sent out, and what you need to know is that ZAM awarded 2013's Best in Show at Gamescom to WildStar. Online, Welton.com, it's a very large German community site. People in the base community and others nominate them. They also said WildStar was best at Gamescom. And then MMORPG.com awarded Best of Show in PAX 2013, to WildStar. It's really cool to see WildStar getting these accolades. And if you guys don't know, Best in Show normally means that they were the best. It showed a strong positioning in every category, so it didn't actually fit in just one category. It was basically the best of all of their categories. We have a link here where Pappy said there's going to be server first announcements and maybe better rewards for first kills. Beetle wanted to mention something about that.
Yeah, I mean, you can start the speculation train on this one, because I think in the video he was like, yeah, he said possibly better drops from the dungeon bosses or raid bosses for people that finish it. I think he probably just means possibly better stat combination. I don't think there's going to be anything like this sword only dropped off the first boss. But like other people say, speculation ahoy. You really never know. Who knows? Is it going to be, besides the server message and these items, are those items going to be that much more worth it that you need to be the first to get there? Who knows? But, Blank.
More than likely, some of these first kills are just putting them down the first time. One of the questions I had was, what about different variations of the same boss? So you go in one week and boss has certain, attributes, and they've told us they're going to change every week, is there going to be so many different setups are going to have an actual server first for it. Like, oh, these were the first ones to beat him with 20% extra health and a whirlwind. And the other comment I wanted to make was for possible rewards. I do believe later on we're going to confirm that they said cool things will drop off of bosses that you're going to be able to put in your house. So maybe that's just an additional side thing that they'll put there. Aegon?
Yeah, I mean, from what he talked about, it sounds like the first kill of any boss by anybody will offer a possible better reward than any subsequent kills. How far they take that and how they work that, I don't know. And for a server, for tracking these server first, I mean, the lists are going to be ridiculous with, them mentioning in that video that, each run of that dungeon is going to have different bosses that you access, as well as you'll have different randoms each time. So that list can get ridiculous. And how do you really count as who did the whole thing first, or is there going to be a list to track of who runs it so many times that they actually do everything eventually? I don't know how they're going to do that, pull that off eventually. What do you think, Nixus?
Now, just a couple thoughts on the fact that they are considering doing the server first announcements. What's going to be great about it is I was watching a couple streamers probably last month talking about what they can do to the game to make it look, or to make it the PvE aspect to the game a bit more esports-ish. So I think introducing that and making it so that everything that is first accomplished on the server is announced across the server will definitely, push guilds to want to be the first. They want everybody to see, like, look, we're the ones whose names was seen, like, all across the server. So that's going to be one big motivating factor, and I think it will bring a little bit of an esports touch to PvE. That's the first thing I like. And when it comes to the reward system, I honestly don't see them doing something where it's like, this sword is only going to drop from the first person who kills this boss, and it's going to have like 20, 30, 40 more stats. It might have a special name. It might have a special effect on it, like a cosmetic effect. It might even just be a percentage chance for the good loot off that boss to drop. So like you've got like a 15% higher chance for whatever item to drop. But I don't think it's going to be anything particularly amazing that's going to give you like a huge advantage, a huge edge on the rating scene. But yeah, back to you, Blink.
Somebody had just mentioned over here in chat, each server is getting the same boss config and doing it first fastest based on the config. It looks like, looks like Beto got skipped, first of all. Secondly,
Nope.
yeah, what I was going to say is it is going to be interesting because unless they set it up so that how those raid bosses, on the server is the same, but, each week changes, how many algorithms there are, how many weeks are you actually going to stay on that. It's going to turn into one hell of a organization issue I'm glad I don't have to worry about. So, anyways, that was just my thought. Looking at we killed boss number 1, week number 1, the fastest time, and we got, something cool for our war plot. Whatever. Beetle?
Yeah. Yeah, Nixus, you're lucky I love you. No, I'm kidding. That was basically the same thing I was going to say. The interesting things besides the server first is this fastest thing that I think Josh, he mentioned up in chat there is I really want to see how they're going to calculate that. Like, I've seen games they've done in the past with leaderboards on certain missions and stuff like that, but it's like, so if the fastest is actually going to be giving, better loot, how do they calculate that fastest? So if I do it, if my team does it in 3 minutes and that's the fastest, and then we get good loot for it, and then another team comes in and does 255 and gets loot for it, is it the fastest at that week and then they mail them loot kind of thing? So that's what really kind of caught me was when he mentioned the fastest thing, because how do you show that in a monthly or weekly scope unless they do mail the loot that way?
I'll throw into that. The way I see that working, if it actually has that function, is at the end of the week, whoever had the fastest clear gets like an extra loot reward after server, restart. If that's the way that it works. Anyways, we're going to move along here. You're going to get a link for a ZAM Gamescom interview. Don't have any extra notes on that, so we'll keep moving here. Athene, good old Athene. I love him, you guys love him. Guy's a good guy. Did an interview with Chris Lynch, one of the cool PvP people we have at Carbine. And there is also another link to Telegraph colors. I'm not sure. Oh, I got into it specifically there. So Telegraphs are going to have colors. Not just the ones we've seen. Not just the red and the blue. So, red is enemy, blue is you, purple is the enemy heal, green is your own team healing, and orange is friendly damage. So, that has some implications for PvP. Not necessarily going to talk about that tonight, but for those of you who are hardcore into PvP, it's another little small reveal that they're letting us know about. To think about going forward. Chris also said that there would be, or they would like to have some sort of esports sort of stuff by launch. Bardic has said in the past that esports type features were not in the launch window. We're not sure if things have changed. We couldn't get a full confirmation on that. We would really love to get some more information from PvP, but when it comes out, we will be the first to let you folks know. Moving on, we have Gamescom interview from MMO Buff with the Gaffer. And I don't even see... Oh, there was a proto quiz that was part of Gamescom. I missed out on it. You're going to get a link. We got 3 exclusive, really cool art things. Sorry, guys. You're going to get a link to our fun developers at the end of Gamescom. They were asked to wrap up all of Gamescom in one word, so you're going to get a vine. There was a recap, I believe this was last week, was Gamescom Roundup. WotStar Wednesday. They give you the recap over everything that happened there. We're going to start bussing into PAX panel. I missed the panel. I was busy working the WildStar booth. They went over housing stuff. I heard it was pretty cool. I didn't see any really good videos over Genesis from PAX Prime, but I know that they showed some. There were a couple good videos from Gamescom. Hopefully we get to see some more of that. Not sure what that means. There was a live panel recap from Arrowwolf, WildStar fans. Basically said why people dig it. Freeform placing is now on the exterior of the house as well. So I'm assuming they told us there's no sockets and plugs. Beetle, save me.
Yeah, you've been talking for a while. I thought I should let you spare. First of all, I want to say, Arrowwolf, good recap. I liked your own little spin on it, and just like, oh yeah, you basically see a house with big shooty lasers and tornadoes. But freeform placing is now done on the outside of the house. They showed before that there was a video where it was just a couple windows, and the guy was like scrolling through the window types. Now, from what this is saying, the entire outside of your house could be windows if you can place enough of them. I mean, there's going to be, I can just see Nix's right now. It's just going to be a big smiley face house made out of windows or some shit. It's just going to be like, welcome to the Nix's home. Just, someone's going to try to make like SpongeBob like esque stuff, or, you could, with the freeform, you could do basically anything. You could put your initials on the side of it. You could even put like a guild emblem etched out of certain types of pieces and stuff. But yeah, that was my little thing on that. And I know we have a couple more points from our Wolf's little write-up here that just helps us not dive into the PAX panel itself. But Nixus would like to talk about freeform, and I was wondering when you type in, because housing's your thing.
Yeah, so this whole freeform thing, I think it's a really great idea to add it to the exterior of the house, or just to, any aspect of where you can apply creativity, mainly because if you look at the kind of games that I love to play, so Minecraft, they give you the tools and they give you the option to literally do whatever you want. And that's one of the reasons that I'm so excited, for example, like EQ Landmark. It's because it's going to be another one of those housing systems where you have complete control over, the creative aspect of whatever you're doing. And limiting that in any aspect of housing, whether it's interior, exterior, and whoever else they're going to do, in my opinion, is limiting, because you're going to, let's say you have those plugs that they used to talk about, and then, you add something and it's just cosmetic, and you look at it and you don't really get to touch it or mold it, and you can't, do what you want with it. And there's just that one little tweak. And I don't know, I tend to be quite a perfectionist whenever I do stuff. So whenever I'm looking at something and there's just that one thing that's out of place and I want to move it and I can't, it's just like, it grinds my gears. So the whole freeform aspect to it is going to be great. And, you're going to probably see me spending hours upon hours just sitting there baking stuff in my yard. Maybe not smiley faces out of windows, but some pretty wacky stuff.
It's basically going to be like, Nixus, why aren't you in a leveling group right now? Oh, it's because the last letter on my sign on the front isn't lined up correctly, and I've been not gaining XP for the last 2 hours.
He couldn't quite fit.
Just hear me out, okay?
He couldn't quite fit that 100th rouse tower on his roof.
Right.
Oh, that's an idea. Note it. I'm writing that one down. Alrighty, but let's keep going here. Blake?
I'm showing off my shirt to all the people in chat.
Oh yeah, and all these people are talking about pictures. I never saw any pictures, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, well,
There's Blake tweeting pictures all weekend.
Yeah, if you don't have me on Twitter, you miss some very interesting pictures. They're exactly what Josh just said. So anyways, yeah. Excuse me.
Hi, I'm Dawn from the Carbine Dev team.
So, back to the recap. Elder Gems is the mechanic where max level players, instead of earning XP, receive Elder Points, which are then converted to Elder Gems, which are used as currency to purchase housing items, character upgrades, mounts, and more. Later in the presentation, it's explained that mentoring will play a large role in obtaining Elder Gems, since when a max level player mentors down others, they still receive Elder Points instead of XP. This is of course incentivized max level players to help lobbies. So, Beetle.
Yeah, I think this is arguably the biggest reveal from PAX that's been documented. If I haven't seen it, I'm dumb. But Elder Gems are going to be shut up. They're going to be like the end game token, that dungeon token, this kind of thing. Like, I need, 40k of them to get this YOLO swag dragon. Alright, I said it once. But it's just, it becomes like the biggest thing, and like they said, mentoring others will help lead towards them. That's a big thing, to go help other people on your team, stuff like that. But it is what Endgame's about. I'm assuming, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume housing items, character upgrades, mounts, more. I assume that this is going to be used to purchase Endgame gear. It's maybe similar to the way SWTOR did it with their tokens. Probably, I would say possibly for PvP that's be the way they purchase it, because it doesn't drop. PvE, I would assume raid gear to drop still. They said housing stuff will be, they said that you will be able to purchase housing items with Elder Points.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Aegon, what do you think about it?
I think it's actually a very nice system. I mean, this is the kind of system that actually helps out the casual player as well to gear up if they plan on joining, to raid, since they usually don't have time to raid enough to get all the gear they need. It gives them the another way to earn that currency if we can use it to purchase armor, which they haven't said yet or not. I mean, so far all they've confirmed is housing items, character upgrades, and mounts. But if it lets us buy raid gear, it's a way for the casuals to keep up once they've reached max level, to be able to raid with their fellow guildmates and friends. And
I hope to God you can't get raid gear with it.
Who knows?
Sorry.
Who knows what kind of gear? Who knows what kind of gear will be available by that? I mean, it might be like low tier gear to like let the people get in, but who knows what they plan to do with it yet? You know. But we'll see.
Don't do it. Next.
I mean, I highly doubt, I really highly doubt that they're going to make it so that the raid gear is going to be available through the Elder Gems. It wouldn't make sense. What they might do, though, is the way WoW had it back in the day, where, you know, every time there was a new patch, the previous raid gear would be available for, like, the Elder Gem points, let's say, like, you know, your honor points, and then the newest version, like, the newest tier of gear had to be earned through the raiding. They might do it like that, so it'll help the casual player keep up, always just be one step behind instead of, like, 10 steps behind, right? But having an Elder Gem system is great for longevity, because you hit max level, you know, first off, you have those games where you hit level like 50, 60, and you sit there and you're just like, okay, what now? And you do your dailies for gold, and you realize you don't need gold anymore. That's it. Elder Gems kind of fixes that problem. Not completely, because you can eventually run out of things to purchase with Elder Gems, but hopefully they'll make it so, you know, there's such a huge variety of stuff you can buy, you know, mounts, gear for your, you know, gear, housing stuff, like we said, like passive pets, cosmetic stuff for role players. If they make it extremely varied, it's going to add, you know, one, a motivation to keep leveling your character despite being max, you know, leveling your character. On top of that, just giving you some kind of drive to want to keep doing it. And you'll have a reason, instead of just, you know, being charitable and helping your friends, you'll also have, like, a selfish reason. You'll be like, well, if I go help them, I also get my Elder Gems anyway, so I might as well. I'm not losing my time going to, like, the level 10 zone. So, it's good. I like it. Beetle?
Yeah, and Agent Drew makes a great point in chat there. Maybe let Elder Gems help you buy mats or patterns. That's a good idea. It's kind of similar to the Laurel of Guild Wars 2, if Laurels didn't really kind of suck. But it allows you to buy some mats, or that'd be a cool idea, actually. I like the patterns option for that if they're a little higher. The only thing I worry about is if they allow for the player base to purchase endgame gear with the gems, and I can also purchase endgame or like an awesome mount, I'm gonna show up to raid night and everybody's gonna be like, where's your new gear? And then I'm gonna press my mount button and be like, it's right here, baby. And like, because I will spend those gems on a mount so fast. What is this? Boom, that's what it is. Like,
that's the greatest. Oh my god.
I think that's my biggest worry about it is, nope, you can't raid tonight. You spent your Elder Gems on the wrong thing. Like,
Vito, we sent you out to get eggs. You came back with a car. What are you doing?
Yeah. Needed milk, came back with bread. We can grind it.
Oh, goodness.
Well, Kinet, whatever that name is, just mentioned
Called
it,
our
and,
next point.
Mount customization was mentioned. They can receive attachments on the side, front, and back. Mike Donatelli then said, I could have a dinosaur with laser guns attached to the sides. Bullet point.
Yeah, I need to. Let me go ahead and just do that. Oops, I spilled my own there. So I would be completely fine with a dinosaur with laser guns. If there isn't a dinosaur with laser guns, who said it? Popatelli? Coming at you, Donatelli, if there isn't a dinosaur in game with lasers as attachments. But this leads to so many different things, because if you can attach things to land mounts as opposed to flying mounts, if they're in, it leads to different types of attachments. Shields, so I don't get knocked off. This. But if I have a super fast land mount and I can attach 2 thrusters to it or 2, jump boosters, well, hell, why do I need the flying mount if I can jump halfway over this or hover for this amount of time? As a design standpoint, it allows for so many different random creative things. Like, I could just attach 2 party sparklers to the end, and when I press them, my mount waves his arms around with sparklers on the end of his hands. It's just another thing that Carbine's adding for content, that it can go anywhere, from things that are practical guns and shields to Rousdower cannons that blow up into confetti. Like, that just happened. So, and I won't say YOLO Swag Dragon again because I did, but Nixus, what do you think?
Obviously, anything that's customizable, I tend to like. I really like the fact that there's going to be different slots. Now, when it comes to the kind of stuff that you're going to be able to equip in those slots, if we're talking about utility, so you mentioned movement speed, jump boosts, those kinds of things. But what if you get into, for example, the portable like stores or repair, the repair guys like they have on the WoW mounts or anything like that, or even certain ingredients can only be bought off of a vendor that's on a specific mount, that kind of stuff. Are you then taking the creative aspect out of it by introducing those kind of utilities and making it so people are going to be forced, if they're in a specific raid build, to have certain attachments to their mounts? So if they're like mid-raid and somebody needs a repair drone, like you can just pull out your bike mount and it'll have one on it. Like that's the one thing they have to be kind of careful with because it's a delicate thing. If it's purely cosmetic, just for fun, it is just sparkles going around, that kind of stuff, then I'm perfectly fine with it and love it. And one quick thing, let's see just how creative we can get with those attachments. I'd love to see what people can come up with for mount attachments. Draw whatever mount you want, add the craziest attachments on there, and let's give Carbine some ideas, because I've already come up with a couple.
Should we go? Here we go. Let's do... Hang on. I'm typing, guys. I'm slow. Let's do this. And tweet them at Team Wildstar. And see how angry we can make Scooter and Troy.
I know I'll be spending the next couple hours after the show tonight doing this, so...
Keth, I want you to put training wheels because I want them. So yeah, that hashtag at Team Wildstar with your stuff, and then save your tweets, because who knows? Because they've been known to just kind of sneak stuff in.
I like Fenn's hashtag even better.
LND pimp my mouth.
LND pimp my mouth.
Hashtag LND pimp my mouth.
God damn it. He
There
can
we go,
type
we're sticking
faster
it
than me. What next to say? This keyboard's no good, man.
Beetle just typed it in Viking talk in case you don't speak English, so.
Yes, I'm idea.
Oin de Vedes Flügen Wüsted.
Goodness.
That's racist.
Show is falling apart. Okay, so
Alright, so the show's depreciated.
on track.
Welcome to Late Night Granock shirt.
Where'd you get that?
Who's got what shirt?
Oh.
What?
I got it from
Yeah.
my buddy Honrez.
Oh, bullcrap.
That Onres guy. I gotta talk to him
So-
after the show.
That and a nude photo. Alright, moving on.
We're gonna keep moving on here, so we can get to our main topics. Massively did a first timer's impression of Wildstar. Wasn't over the top. Just said he liked the game. Wasn't let down by it at all. And Beetle wants to say something. What?
Yeah, it's I just want to say it quick. It's good to see Massively kind of starting to do stuff with it. They said it was a first look. Besides MMORPG, Massively is one of the bigger. I think they're through Joystick, but they're one of the bigger, MMO article players out there. So it's good to see that they're at least taking a look and seeing what they like. Since it was first look, he said he wasn't let down by it. He probably didn't have very high expectations going in. But yeah, moving on.
No reveals at Wildstar PAX panel from Massively. So you're gonna get a link there. There is an amazing interview from David Bass, or Scooter, for Polaris. Should definitely check it out. It's a million times better than mine. And I'm not sure what this picture is supposed to be. I don't know why that's there. Why is this picture here?
Let me click
Oh,
it.
it's...
Oh, you deleted it. What was it? If it was
I
from
don't
Nexus,
know
it's probably
what-
something dirty.
It was.
No.
Massively. Massive.
This is a big
from
one.
PAX
Focus.
wrote about Wildstar Dungeons previews. They showed the ones we've seen, and they mentioned Sanctuary of the Sword Maidens and Datascape, which is a Matrix-like instance where the structure comes together out of thin air to form right in front of your eyes. And, as I mentioned earlier, there will be a lot of housing items gained from dungeons, including the possibility of boss heads that can be mounted on a wall as a grotesque trophy. Here's my plea to Carbine. If you're going to have them come out of dungeons as a trophy, please, if we could have guild halls, please, can we get the heads of the bosses that has a date on it when you killed it for the first time?
That'd be
That we
sweet.
could put in a guild hall. Would be boss. Who gives a shit about a linked achievement when you can be like, yo, check out my guild hall, and this is the date we first killed this dude. Just saying. Beetle?
Yeah, I mean, if there's guild halls and raid leader gets that automatically and you put in your hall, that'd be amazing. If it gives some sort of buff and it's for individual houses, I'd like to see it as a rarer drop, personally. But that guild hall idea is awesome. Or even, I don't even know, like, war plot or whatever they want to do, but with a date and time stamp on it, if you press E or F on it, whatever action button's going to be,
Yeah.
that'd be pretty sweet.
Well, that's honestly that's what I'm thinking. Like, okay, achievements are linkable. Everyone's done that. Whoop-de bullshit. Who cares? But imagine you go to and we've said this before. War plot is different. War plots are going to be what you build up to go smashing other people into your PvP. If hopefully they consider guild halls and it's a whole deal that you can do, build up with your guild and shit. How cool would it be not to be your legacy? Right there. Who needs a website? Who needs something tracked outside? You could be like, check out our shit. Here's the date we first killed, Melma. Here's the first day we killed Sword Maiden. Here's the first, boss of Date Escape. I just think that would be so baller. Anyways,
Right.
Nixus?
Agent Drew brings it up briefly in chat here. That's nice, but can I mount my enemy player's head on my wall with their name under it? While I think, that wouldn't work for the guild hall because that would be like, you're doing a war plot of 40 versus 40. You're not going to mount 40 heads in your guild hall. What I think would be cool, though, is being able to have, like, the enemy flag that you can then take and, like, hang on your wall somewhere. Like a tattered version of their emblem that would be, customizable, that kind of thing. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And then maybe have, if you're doing arenas, like 2v2 after a certain rating, you are able to mount the players, like, maybe not their head, but, like, their dog tag or whatever they use as their badge. So they'd have, like, that kind of badge system implemented where you'd customize that, almost like a guild logo, but just for your own, arena team. So that could be pretty cool.
Well, I'll even I will up your ante. How about
sir?
For your arena? Let's say in your season 1 you rank at a certain level, and that level is normally like 2K is like your shoulders. What if you got some like a copy of your shoulders or something for your team that you were then able to put someplace? I really the more I think about this, the more I like this idea that making achievements less of something that's linked with a date that no one gives a shit about and putting it in the game, not so much as clutter, but as like something cool to be organized. Like, hey, here's our first expansion, our wall, and like these are all the bosses, and you can mouse over and see when they got killed. For some reason I think that's so much cooler. So
and all I see is just hours of dev time and content needing to be put in.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool. Like, there's everything you say, I'm just like, it'd be awesome. And then like the inner, like, gamer designer of me, I'm just like, oh man, that would take some time if they're not already doing it. Like, hopefully Carbine's just like, oh yeah, bro, we got that. Yeah. Or I have no idea. But I'm just seeing it, I'm just like, oh god.
Or you're giving their programmers a conniption fit.
There you go. Job security. That's the way to look at it.
That's what it is, yeah. Hey, content designers, you have another thing to put in. Scripters, you need to make this happen. Yeah. War plot season.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite things.
That's baller. Go ahead.
That was one of my favorite things from Global Agenda, if anybody played it. If you won their kind of war plotty thing, if you were one of the top 10 teams in that season, you actually got armor and helmets and stuff. And since it was kind of a futuristic game, it was like it was hologram armor and stuff. So you'd run around the world and you're like, oh, he's from such and it would give the guild leader, I think, like 10 or 15 of them to distribute amongst officers and people that they know have played well or based on stats and stuff. Some guild leaders would just take them and sell them, yeah, but I love that kind of stuff. Like, if you win a certain PvP season, you know, raid season, gear treadmill, like, that stuff's so cool.
Don't give us a faster mount that's pretty, like, mounts are cool, but
you can do that.
Something different. Like, you know, yeah, okay. I love the faster gladiator mount. You know, that extra 10, 20%, whatever it was, that's cool. But I'd really like additional things to that too. And I think custom armor makes it even cooler, because there's something to be said for, you know, like, oh, that guy has a certain glow on his, you know, sword. That means last season he finished in the top, you know, like 5%. Anyways.
Right.
So with that, we've wrapped up your weekly news. That's actually 2 weeks worth of news all in one. A lot of people pretty sad face about not getting certain information from the conventions. What can you say? We will be getting more and more reveals here in the future. I'm not sure what people are complaining about. Anyways, so
they expected classes to be
they expected class reveals, which didn't happen.
Yeah. But if you were following me on Twitter, I definitely sent some pictures out, because I snuck into PAX early and took some pictures and put them up, and they're definitely redacted. So if you went to PAX Prime and you looked up, you were like, oh, that's a warrior. Oh, that's a spell slinger. And you were like, wait.
That's a something.
What the dude, so many people are like, what is that? And I'm like, you'll find out. What does it look like to you? So, they'll be out when they're out. Anyways, we will move into, someone else is going to have to carry this for a little bit, crowd control, which is our biggest topic for this evening. If you guys have any questions, please put them into chat, and we will get to them. We're going to talk a little bit about crowd control, and if anybody does have questions about PAX that was there, or wants anything answered that I possibly can, go ahead and put it in there now. Go ahead, somebody.
Sure, I'll take it. So, we wanted to touch on crowd control because we missed it 2 weeks ago because we had such a packed show, but the DevSpeak crowd control with Frost. Wanted to go over that a little bit with people. The YouTube link, I believe, is here. IGN Rewind Theater, DevSpeak crowd control. So the first thing we want to talk about, and I think we've talked about it on the show before, is the breakout gameplay, the fact that it's an action MMO. So they showed in the video disarm, 5 seconds you can't use a weapon, but you can go find your weapon and pick it up. This was really awesome to me because this is action. This is like action combat. The fact that it puts it out in the world for you to go grab is really cool to me. It's you can be disarmed for 5 seconds, or you could dodge roll to your left, grab your weapon, and be back in combat in 1. So that's the thing of action combat. Nixus is putting his name in front of everybody else's. I'm just gonna call him.
You know what? I've been impolite this evening. Please, Aegon, your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely an interesting mechanic. I'm waiting to see what happens when, like, say, like, you're fighting next to a cliff and you get disarmed and your weapon goes flying down the cliff. Are you gonna jump down for it or wait out those 5 seconds? It's gonna be interesting.
I think it'll probably have some sort of invisible collision with ledges and stuff like that. If it doesn't, that's awesome.
If it's awesome, it'd be awesome if it did.
Knocking people into lava and Warhammer. Sorry.
What do you got?
Blanket space.
What do you got, Blank?
So, the one thing for disarm I just wanted to mention was this seems like something that you're going to want to stack with something else, as a couple of you guys have kind of mentioned in chat. Disarm looks like something you wanna stack with tether or something else. So literally, there's no way for them to pick it up. And 5 seconds is a wicked long time to not be doing damage. So, in any game, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. 5 seconds of sitting there with nothing in your hands, that's a big time. But disarm, if it's only effective if you can't get to it. So I see disarm, stun, disarm, knockdown being used at the end or beginning. I don't see disarm being one that you can solely rely on to be super effective without something else to follow up. Go ahead, Nixus, your turn.
Alrighty, so yeah, definitely the breakout gameplay is something that I absolutely love, and you're absolutely right, Beetle, whenever you say that it's actual action, it's actual interactive, combat. Completely agree. Now, what I want to know is, I'm not sure if they've touched on this at all. Correct me if I'm just bringing something up that's already been discussed. Are they going to make it so certain classes are, less affected by certain types of CC? So, for example, if you're playing a high intel class, if you get, if someone uses a CC that's confusion on you, or is it going to be is duration going to be shorter than if it would be on on a warrior, for example, who doesn't have as much CC? And then, to basically counter that, if you used, for example, tether on a warrior, you'd have to break the little connector or whatever's holding you on the ground, and because you have higher strength, you destroy it in 2 hits instead of 3, as opposed to someone who has higher intel. Now, I know that could get kind of unbalanced if you don't do it right. I understand that. Some people might be like, well, that's really unfair because, confusion isn't as effective as a tether or, a blind or whatever it might be. But it could also add a really interesting touch to the arenas, because then, you basically have to determine, if, let's say, your tether's on cooldown and you've got your freeze up, but freeze isn't as effective on the spell slinger as the tether is. Do you wait it out, or do you use it, and then when the warrior comes up, are you effed because you already used the CC on, that kind of situation comes up, and it adds a little bit. I feel like it makes the PvP experience more interesting.
All right,
you just went into some deep speculation for Nixus.
Yeah.
I was proud of you.
I know.
I was so proud of you right there.
Let's talk about what they showed us, and then let's talk about our thoughts on them, because we kind of just went into that. They give us disarm 5 seconds. You have to go pick it up. It takes away the cooldown. Stun. You got to spam your F key. Knockdown. You can get out of knockdown, but you have to spend a dash charge. No dash charge, shit out of luck. Disorient. Left, down, back, right. Everything's all effed up. Potential for interact armor to work on this. Blind. The whole screen goes, what the F sauce. I love my notes. Tether. Keeps you within a small area until you kill the tether. Those are the things that we saw in the video. Now, before we talk about PvP and PvE, would you want to walk into? I'd like to actually let's go into PvP. What do you guys think?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. First thing I talked about this at PAX Prime over and over and over again because I was there to discuss PvP with people who've never even heard about WildStar. Because of breakout gameplay, PvP in WildStar raises the skill ceiling so that those who have better skills and who know classes may end up destroying those with better gear. Hands down. Secondly, these are not linear choices. You're not going to be able to macro a set of skills to maximize your performance. When I played my Gladiator Rogue, there were very linear choices to be made. I come out of stealth, I stun you. If you trinket, I then kidney shot. If you trinket, I could then wait until cooldown, re-stealth. Everything was a very straight line. With breakout gameplay, you will have optimized choices, but they are not linear. You will have to decide, do I have the dash token? Do I have the ability to sprint? Am I able to double jump? What skills did they use? What skills do I have? What's on my limited action set to use at my disposal? And the last big note I have for PvP implications is, will people set up macros to get out of a stun? Like spamming F. Not sure what prevalent use of clickbots. More than likely, if I was in a PvP situation, I would make a macro that allowed me to hit F, and it spammed it over and over and over until my stun was over, and I would hit F, and it would be done. So, with the breakout gameplay, with the CCs that we have, and in the ramifications of PvP, who wants to start this off? Aegon?
Alright, well, definitely I have to say that you can bet $1 million that everyone's going to have a macro to spam that F key, especially in PvP. It'd be a disadvantage otherwise. Whether Carbine's going to do anything to stop that, I don't know. Whether they can, I don't know. It's definitely, I think, because of the breakout gameplay, it's definitely going to come down more to skill than gear, because you're going to have so many different options to work with and play with, as well as figuring out how those options work together and what to use to stop your opponent. Like the combination we talked about earlier, do I tether the person and knock their weapon away so they can't do shit for 5 seconds? I've just ruined their day. But what can they do about it? They have ways to get out, but can they do it in time? So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that. We got Beetle.
Yeah, like a lot of people are saying in chat, there's going to be a max rate of at which someone can press F anyway, so a macro is just going to put you at that max rate. If you feel you can already hit the max rate, or you don't want to hit the max rate, whatever, but Carbine's already taking actions against that, so it's going to be whether or not do I make the macro just so I don't have to spam my F key at the max rate, or, that kind of stuff, but the whole thing with tethers, knockdown, disorient, everything's a big thing of rock, paper, scissors. And my only worry is there's going to be sometimes that, like if I get disorient and someone said blind and tether, if you can get all those at the same time, there might just be times that I just take my hands off the keyboard because I'm trying to move towards the tether, but my move towards is the opposite. And plus, it took me the first 3 seconds of the tether to find it because I was blinded. I mean, that's just CC. If somebody's wasting 3 CC on me just to kill me, someone else on my team is doing better than me anyway, so I'm not really worried about it. The one real interesting thing I got from it was when you're knocked down, you can use a dash charge to get out of it. So this makes it so people aren't constantly spamming their dash charges. A lot of people like to do in PvP is when they see a lot of spell effects and they see a lot of telegraphs, they like to just spam their dodges because they think they're dodging things. It's better to keep those and dodge when you know someone's going to use a certain attack on you. You see it in Guild Wars 2 all the time. People will just see, an arrow card or a couple AoEs and they'll just go, dodge, I'm done. That kind of thing. So having this knockdown is like, okay, I need to have one of these up. Yes, I can waste one here, but if I get knocked down, I want to have one. Because if I don't have one, I'm going to die. So it's another thing that Carbine's doing to separate these good players from the bad, and for people who think like that, okay, I can't just be like, oh, spell effects, dodge, I'm out, because then I get knocked down on the edge of combat and I get 1v1 by some guy, and he takes me to cleaners. So there's a lot of interesting implications with PvP, and I personally find that knockdown dash charge to be awesome. As like a design thing, I love the tether. The tether's amazing. Someone, I think on Twitter or somewhere mentioned, what if you get tethered? It might even be me talking. I don't know. I talked to myself. It was, what if you get tethered and then get knocked off an edge? At that point, are you just hanging there for the duration of the tether? Like, that's awesome to me. And if they add verticality to PvP maps, hey, I tethered everybody up here and we massed like knockdowns. Now they're all just like, balls. They're sitting there. So, little bit of a random rant there from me, sorry, but just my thoughts on PvP, CC, blank, take it away, E.
Well, one of the things I do want to say is, when it comes to where your keys are when playing a game, the only reason why I would macro F is because of how far it is away from the other things that I want to do. I want to be potentially getting ready to spam and hit other things. So by setting up a macro to do something like that for me, it allows me to hit the button twice, be done with the action, be out of CC, and able to then be moving quicker than others. So it may not be, people are saying, oh, it's only going to count as much as the human can put it in or whatever. Yeah, that's cool. Just from a micromanagement of fingers and response time, I would rather hit that and then be able to be moving quicker for that half a second, whatever it is, than have to worry about it myself. To get back onto what I wanted to talk about, though, I want to talk about the CCs and having them being tiered. Right now, when I look at these things, as a hardcore PvPer, I really do tier when all of these items. And if this gets a little too deep, draw me back. But right now, disarm is something I'm going to use defensively. I'm not going to use disarm offensively. Disarm is when I need to get the enemy to get away from me. I'm not going to run in and drop disarm. I'm going to use a disarm when I need something to save my ass. A stun can be used either way. Knockdown, of course, can be used either way. Disorient and blind, I feel, are... disorient, I definitely feel, is much more of perhaps a defensive or a very early offensive. But I normally like to use my CCs defensively, unless it's something like a stun. Because a stun means they're spamming something. Knockdown is a wasted CC if they have a dash charge. If I see that they've done their dashes or that they've used them to just get out of damage, like Beetle was mentioning, then I'll use a knockdown, because I know there's no way for them to get out of it unless they have something like interrupt armor, and then it's a solid CC. I'm not going to use a knockdown so that they can just use a dash charge and run away. That would be terrible. And tether, I feel, is just like disarm. It's another setup. You're going to be able to kill. We don't know how easy or hard it's going to be to kill these little tethers that are on you, but tether is something that I really feel you're going to spam. You're going to add on something else, like you're going to do a knockdown tether, and if they use a dash charge, they're still stuck to the tether, and you're able to focus damage on them.
Right.
I really, I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I haven't really looked at the chat. And the other thing that we don't know here about in depth is, I'm sure that within your limited action sets, there's going to be certain things that may break you out of these. Maybe not blind per se, but I'm thinking maybe tether. What if there's some sort of blink or jump or something where you're able to get out of
exceed its max range?
Right, or maybe not. Maybe it's just like, what? Doesn't matter what you do, you're stuck here. So, yeah, people saying things like tether and blind, GG. Yeah, I wouldn't use tether and blind together. Tether and blind. I would use blind and stun right after each other, so that you can't see crap and then literally unable to do anything, because you come from being blind to then seeing you're in a stun and then like, oh shit, spamming your F key, you're already seconds behind. So
Right.
anyways, unless you guys had more to talk about PvP, would love to see what you guys here in chat have to say about how you would CC people. It's going to be very, very interesting, and I don't believe that we put in, but we will talk about it right now. There is something called interrupt armor out there, and people are going to be able to have that on themselves. How much is it going to suck when you have a 20-second, 30-second, or longer stun that you use on somebody expecting, and the other team just happens to see you on your way in, and all of a sudden their red fiery glow of interrupt armor, and now your stun is wasted. Anyways, just some thoughts for PvP. I'm not sure if we talked about GDC at all.
GCD.
Anyways, GCD.
Yeah, we have Rage Bear in the chat here who talked about the global cooldown. I think we touched that on a previous episode before, and it's definitely a complete, topic change, but it is something that we're seeing in one of the most recent games that's come out, Final Fantasy XIV, and a lot of the issues that I've heard of people having with the combat system that they have is the incredibly long. And when I say incredibly long, that's obviously my opinion. They've got like a 3-second.
It's 2.5. It's a 2.5 second cooldown. It's kind of ridiculous.
2.5, and some people are actually finding the game difficult to enjoy strictly due to the fact that they have a long global cooldown. So then, we have to ask ourselves, how's the global cooldown in WildStar, and how's that going to affect the gameplay, especially, with these CCs? Are you going to have those 2.5? Because honestly, what I've been noticing is 2.5 second cooldown. You have lots of time to decide what your next skill is going to be, and there's less, it's less of like second nature of, knowing exactly. I feel like it brings the skill ceiling down a bit. That's essentially how I feel about that.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily. It makes it easier to chain, if you ask me. Like if I have 2 seconds to pick my next skill, we're not chaining CCs based on the time the person gets up. You know what I mean? So if it's a 1 second and then we're knocking them down again, yeah, I agree.
Well, as somebody who was playing, and we did 3 versus 3, which turned into 3 versus 5, which was 3 versus 10, and then 5 versus 12. We had a PvP tournament at PAX Prime. You have your spammers or your builders for your combat. So global cooldown only comes in for specific skills that have chunkier cooldowns to them. So I don't see it being 2.5 seconds. You run around and you have your attack however long it is. There was some variance between the classes, but you're able to run around and build up your combat resources and spend them. The only things that had cooldowns on them were specific skills, and I couldn't tell you what they were off the top of my head. And yes, somebody asked, are players going to have, are players going to have interrupt armor? Yes, they will have interrupt armor. I'm gonna move into PvE. Now, bosses have interrupt armor. Some of the things that I wrote down for this, sorry guys, I'm dying right now. How long does stripping off of interrupt armor last? How many charges does a boss have? Is everybody going to... Okay, so certain bosses might have unlimited interrupt armor. So you're going to have to coordinate who stuns. And then you're also going to have to coordinate who brings stuns and unlimited action sets. You only have so many skills that you can bring with you. If a boss has, 4 charges, that means 4 people out of 5 in a dungeon have to bring one so that you're able to knock it down. So, again, it's the next level of coordination, and then I'm sure they all don't line up the same. So 20-second, 30-second, 40-second stuns means you're waiting for the person who has the longest cooldown to then be able to stun a boss again. Lots of interesting things here. Once you strip the interrupt armor off, does it take 10 seconds to get back on or 5 seconds? Who knows? Let's see. So, go, Beetle. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, with how long, I got for both points, I guess, how long does stripping the interrupt armor last? I wonder if it's going to be you strip it and then it's so quick that you need to have that other person ready with the knockdown in order to knock down the boss. I think that kind of adds a little bit to the skill. If we take out all the interrupt armor and then and then the boss has like 10 seconds till he builds it back up, I don't think that's right. I think that you should have, 3 to 5, at most 5, or at most 3 even, that you need to be like, all right, last interrupt armor's coming down, hit him now, and then with bosses that have unlimited interrupt armor, can't be knocked down, I wonder if they'll even have